Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keane on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keane. Today, we have LG Doucet joining us for our Sunday recap, who is, if you're into flow NFTs, you know LG. Let me just say that. Goated, OG, Top Shot, content creator. He has the first mint, the newsletter, the podcast, all that. And we're excited to have him join us today. LG, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How could you not mention the Twitter account? Like, I put so much effort there, Jen. I put so much, God. Especially now. Like, nobody cares about like pack drops anymore because there's too many. So I just make up all these terrible tweets that are like, name this album, terrible answers only, or like wrong answers only, and it'll be like the latest Top Shot pack art. Okay. Or like literally, I've resorted now. I'm like, 30 years ago, the movie The Sandlot came out. Greatest movie ever. And people are like, yeah, content. Like, if that's
your latest tweet from the first mint, by the way, the first mint on Twitter. Can you name 5 Australian athletes? What? Like, anyway,
look at the responses, man. Engagement farming, bro. That's what you got to do. You got to get the people going.
Wait, but I want to talk about, because as the intro song was playing, Andy always plays the song right before we go on because we gotta hype ourselves up. LG posts in the chat, he's like, "Is this a Los song?" and does a bunch of question marks. And yes, it's just Los. I remember one of the first things he said was like, "Oh yeah, I made the first mint, their song," like, and I was like, "Oh, you made the first mint song," like. So that's pretty crazy that, yeah. Is your podcast his song, like the intro still? Yeah.
Yes, we still use it. I changed up I kind of mixed up the podcast. I tried like something a little bit different back in the fall, but now I've reverted to literally 3 hours straight of me and Phil just talking. And most of the time it's actually not really about sports NFTs or anything. It's like Phil talking about coaching like youth hockey teams. It's off the rails. It's pretty insane. But we used the song that he had made for us, and we kind of like. Honestly, it was freaking awesome to hear him open your show. But did you ever hear about how he was discovered on our show when we had like First Mint Idol? Did you ever hear this story?
Wait, tell me. Oh my God, First Mint Idol? What? I didn't know about this.
Yeah. So this was, I don't know. This was back in like the heyday of the live show, like spring 2021 or whenever it was, and. I had like gotten, this is when like packs were like impossible to get on Top Shot, right? Where it was like, oh, there's a new Meagle pack, right? And people would go totally berserk, and it was so intense that we would host Club Cold Brew on Spaces, where we'd all get on Spaces, and then whoever like hit would come up and open. And I got one, and instead of opening it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this as a contest, because it was still like the pack was like $100-$200. But I knew the value of it was going to be like 1,000. So I was like, this is good, like contest material. Like, well, a lot of people want to enter as a hot pack. So instead of just making it like, hey, retweet for a chance to win the pack, instead I was like, no, we're going to have some fun. And I'm going to ask people to submit like an audition tape via Google Forms of them like doing some kind of freestyle rap about like Top Shot or NFTs or whatever. So we had like, so not a lot of people wanted to do it. So we had maybe like 20 or 30 responses. And some of them, bless the heart of everybody who recorded themselves. Most of them were pretty bad. But what we did is we shortlisted like 5 of them, and we asked them to come on the show live and do a live performance of their freestyle. And knowing that only like 2 of them were good, the other 3 were like,
damn, they're like American this right now.
If they are, listen. But the thing is that by the time, you know where this is going, Los was the winner. But it's like by the time we got to Los, it was clear that he was on a completely different level than everybody else. And he just started freestyling, like completely different than what he had sent in the audition tape. He just started making up these lyrics, and it was fucking crazy. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear, but it was insane. And obviously he won the pack. Everybody voted for him. And then he opened the pack, and it was like a Paul George $900 MGLE. And I think to thank us, because he was so happy, he was like, yo, let me make you a song. And then he made our intro song. And I think that kind of got the wheels turning for him a little bit of like, you know, we played it on the show. Everybody was like, we love this. And then he started making like some really cool tunes, right? I think he had a few other like his own original music he made a few times, and then also made the theme for yours, right? So that was the story. And actually,
sorry, go ahead.
The way we the way we did the competition live on the show, the part I forgot to do was like it was like the voice. So what we had is we have Phil and another guy from First Minute, Carbachachi. We had them on the show as the judges, but we had them close their eyes and turn around when the freestyle would start for each contestant. So then they had to slowly like turn and open their eyes as the person would rap. And anyways, so it was hilarious, and we had some great entries, and Los like nuked everybody. He was incredible.
Wow, this is also a testament to LG's good content creation here, because that's very creative. That's very creative. I love that.
My brain mainly works in really bizarre party games. Like that's like 99% of what my brain can do is just come up with really weird things. Like, or really, I guess creative is probably a nicer way to put it. But thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Los. The first time I heard of him was he must have been following my Jennifer Top Shot or something. Like when I was making YouTube videos, because basically, anyway, he just randomly one day DM'd me and he's like, hey, I made you a song. And I was like, what? And I thought it was like maybe a scam. He's like, it's not a scam link, I swear. Like it was some like Google Drive. And I was like, oh, I'm afraid to click it. But I clicked it, and he made me the Jenny from the Blockchain song, which we played on here a couple times. And I was like seriously blown away. I was like, what? This is incredible. Like you're amazing. And then that's around the time that we started the pod, and then I was like, oh, can you make us the theme song for the pod? And he did. Oh, and awesome. Yeah, we've been using it ever since, because it's just banger. Like
he had it for the I think for like the second episode. Jenny was like, let's not use it quite yet. Let's make sure this is gonna stick.
I was like, I didn't think that this was gonna last. I was like, And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know about this Michael guy. Like
who's this old dude that is like trying to do a podcast with me? Yeah, we're
episodes
episode
have you guys done?
This is 134.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
So,
yeah.
Almost
I know.
2 years.
You're over 200. Congrats on that, man. You guys are going
you.
forever. I know. I was
January 2021.
Yeah.
And
I see you do
Nice.
some really long ones too. You go over 2 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty unhinged now. Like it's something where I think
it's bear market vibes.
I don't know if it's bear market vibes. I've learned a lot about obviously podcasting, as I'm sure you guys have, but I've also learned a lot about how people consume podcasts, right? Because I've kind of, and I was talking to a friend who's kind of discussing this with me, and he has a podcast as well, and invests in a lot of companies, and he had a really good perspective. He told me that there's two types of people that listen to podcasts, and each of them has this very distinct reason for listening to the podcast. One is like information, right? Which is probably most NFT podcasts, probably a good example is like even you guys probably doing like weekly recaps every week, right? And it's just like, okay, here's what's going on. Tell me, they want to know what the hosts think, what they think. If most NPR shows, even the longer ones, it's like you're learning about something. It's a story, whatever. So that's one type. But the other type of podcast that people listen to, or the reason they listen to podcasts, is companionship, right? And it's something I never thought about. But that's why, like if you think about the most popular podcast in the world by a long shot, Joe Rogan, right? And that's those shows. He does like 2 or 3 different 3-hour long shows every freaking week. Like he's and then UFC and all the other stuff he does. Like he's a machine. It's impressive to be able to talk to somebody for 3 hours that many times, different people. But those shows, like there's no theme. There's no like, maybe you're learning something, but you're learning something that's like a weird story somebody's telling you about something that happened. But it's not like an informational show. It's just him and somebody else talking, and they're usually a notable guest. And I think most people listen to something like that for companionship. People are listening to the shows like on their way to work, at work, walking their dogs, whatever that is. And I think most podcasts, the reason you listen to them is kind of split into those two categories. And that's why I think we've kind of gone back to being just Phil and I, is that, and this is feedback from 2 years ago, even longer. People used to tell, so like, listen to you guys talk, it kind of just makes me feel like I'm hanging out with friends. And I really like that. And I think, yeah, definitely in the bear market, the products that we cover are not as hot as they once were, as is same with the whole NFT market. But at the end of the day, he is my real brother, and we really enjoy talking to each other. We enjoy telling stories, and we're really fortunate that a lot of other people like listening to that and relate to our way of speaking to each other. And I hope we fit into the companionship one. I think I hope that people want to listen to 2.5 hours and kind of just feel like they're hanging with some buds.
That's fun that you guys are, and oh my God, that makes me think about me and my twin sister Steph, and I'm like, I'd love to have a pod. I mean, I would never leave this podcast, but if I did something with her, like that'd be so much fun. And I'm sure it's a good bonding experience for you guys too. Like you guys just hang out and you're chatting, and that's great.
Listen, yeah, of course, yeah. If you listen to the shows, you'll hear Phil talk about his kids, and his kids are quite grown up, and I don't even have kids, so it's like Phil had kids at an early age, and when you're like in your 20s and your brothers, and like that's usually a good time for you to like party together or to do like a lot of stuff together. But when one of you has kids, it's a little bit different, right? You have a lot less time together, and we live on opposite coasts, so it's something that I think like through COVID, doing that together really like helped bring us closer together. It honestly just gave us something to do together. I think we'd always wanted to do something, but having had significantly different, adulthoods was always kind of like, what is that going to be? Like, what are we going to play on like a hockey team together or something? Right. Like I don't know, like what is it? We live so far apart. What could that be? So I think doing the show is like, it is a bonding experience. Absolutely. And I'm super, super, super lucky that Phil likes to talk just as much as I do.
Yes. All right, guys. Now we have a sponsored segment by Swoops.
Yes, everybody might remember that Swoops sponsored us a few months back for one episode. We've now entered into a pretty exciting multi-episode partnership. I think it's about 6 episodes leading up to their awesome drop, which is going to be starting on May 17th. But this one is really cool because this time they actually, well, first of all, what is Swoops? Swoops is a blockchain-powered basketball simulation game. It allows users to exclusively own, operate, and profit from their own players. So it's this really cool setup. We talked about it last time. Our listeners probably know. This time, they gifted me 5 players. So for the last 2 days, I've actually been playing in their system.
Let's go.
Learning it. I have my team. I've been renaming my players. I use ChatGPT to help me pick out names for the players, and it's a really slick interface. Like some of the games you can actually win a little bit of money. They do them for like 50 cents. A lot of the games, so you go in, basically you have your team. You can have one person and they have free agents, so you can build a team of 5. The ones they gave me, I have some good players. I have some okay players that aren't amazing, but it's good. I played about 17 games so far, and I think I'm 4-13. Not amazing. I played this one really good team a bunch of times.
Wait, so you won 4 times and you lost 13 times?
I won 4 times and I lost 13 times.
Come on, pick it up.
I know. I'm trying. But I got lucky. The last game I just played right before we came on, I won. So that all being said, the thing that you should do right now, if you're listening, you want to go check it out, you can go to playswoops.com, and right at the top, it's totally free. Sign up for their pre-sale. If you want, their first drop sold out, 1,500 of them in 35 minutes. What they say is there's no guarantee it gets to the public. If anybody wants one, if anybody wants to play versus me, hit me up in the Discord. We'll join the same game and we'll play versus each other. Yep.
Ooh, all right. And just for some dates as well to share. So Sunday, April 14th is going to be the owner cutoff date as far as getting into the pre-sale. And then Wednesday, 5/17 is mint day number 1, owners only. Thursday, 5/18 is mint day 2, which is going to be the pre-sale. And Friday, 5/19 is the public mint day 3. Yeah, they may or may not be sold out by then, but
may or may not. Playswoops.com. Let's go.
All right, now back to the show. Okay, so first of all, for those people that don't know LG Doucet, how did you, because we always like to to get to know a little bit of how our guests got into the NFT space. And, maybe you can obviously talk about the first mint and how that all got started, because that really, that popped off. Anybody who's a collector on Flow knows the first mint.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people who even, we were very fortunate, like a lot of people who came in that initial NFT boom also listened to us, even if they're not big time Flow collectors anymore. Like the Ape crowd, a lot of other people, whoever was there early, I think at one point or another encountered us, which was very, we're very, very, very fortunate for that. How I got started, Jen, is probably like a lot of other people in the pandemic. I had a lot of time on my hands, right? There was nothing to do. You could watch the Zoom concerts that people were having, or, Zoom with your family, and it was their first Zoom experience or whatever. But after like a couple months, it got kind of tired. I was working in film production. I was running a studio in Vancouver, Canada, and we were making ads for different companies, which was super fun. But that shut down when the pandemic happened, right? It was like, we're not getting on set. We're not shooting car commercials. None of that is happening anytime soon. And I've been working in like the content space, like online content space through my entire career. Like I started doing social media marketing in like 2009, back when like nobody knew what that was. Like I had to go to boardrooms all over North America and like literally explain what a Facebook page was. And people were just like scribbling notes, you know what I mean? Being like, oh man, I got to sign up for Facebook later. I can't believe, or they'd have like an opposite reaction, be like, you're insane. This will never take off. Right. So I started kind of like in the, social media marketing space and been there for a long time, to the point where 10 years later, it had, kind of come into the commercial like advertising world, where people were making ads like a 30-second truck commercial, but then also making 50 different cuts for Instagram, and it intersected. So I was kind of feeling at a point in my career where it's like I'd kind of come full circle, right? Where social media was now a very professional thing to do. And I think when COVID hit, I was like, okay, like, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Like, because film work is a grind, honestly. Like you're talking 18-hour days, especially as a person in charge, the producer. It's super hard. And when the pandemic hit, I was looking for something different. And honestly, I was kind of looking for what's next. I was there early for social media. I was kind of tired now. What else do I want to work on? And crypto was kind of always in the back of my mind, but I've never really been like a financial person, right? I'm not like an analyzer. I'm not like a lot of other people, especially at the time. It's like, I don't even understand half of the products that my bank offers me. You know what I mean? Like for the longest time, like what's a mutual fund? Like I still don't really, really understand what that is. Right. So I was pretty basic in those terms. And that first summer of the pandemic, I started looking into it, and I had a lot of time. So I forced myself to learn what a node is, like all the boring shit. But then again, I was like, this is something that'll never maybe it'll scale, but it'll never hit like the consumer side. And like consumer brand marketing is what I understand. So I don't really have any skills to bring to like DeFi. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to work in DeFi. So I kept hunting around, and probably like a lot of other people at the time who were poking around, I found Top Shot. Right. And this is like August or September 2020. Right. And Jen, I think that was like around the time you and Steph were kind of finding it. And
damn, I thought I was earlier than you, but I guess you're earlier than me.
I didn't do much. Probably like you. I should have bought way more. I didn't. But again, it was such a fringe thing, even when I found it, or I was like, yes, this is like perhaps a career moment, because it's like there is a massive international brand that has a crypto product, and it's clearly already years ahead of where any other brand is. But at the same time, like trying to explain to your wife that you're like, hey, so, okay, I spent $100, pandemic, I'm not making any money, but I spent $100 buying these like fake cards, like fake digital cards, which was kind of the best way to describe them at the time, was kind of crazy. Right. So it had to be like a bit of like a secret late night hobby. But I explored more, and I realized that like eventually brands would need a bit of guidance there, which is again how I started my career in 2009, was like helping brands understand what was going on. So I was like, maybe there's a shot to do that. And I started looking for work. I applied for a job like everywhere, man. Like I always joke that if Rohem goes and checks his LinkedIn DMs from like August or September 2020, he'll find some from me. Because I was like, I want to work there. I want to work at this company. Like, this seems awesome. I love the NBA. It was the bubble playoffs at the time, right? So it was like a perfect moment for that product, and I was so into it. But, who needs a film producer, especially in NFTs at that time? Nobody. So it was a bit of a hard grind on the job circuit. And what I eventually did is I was like, okay, maybe I should just start creating content and get my name out there a little bit. Even if that's not a career, at least I'll be doing something. And I offered, there's this there's this project called Blockly that's still around, which are these digital golfers. And I hit them up. It's like literally you buy a golfer, you play golf with it, and you could win ETH. Like the grand prize back then was like 1 ETH for the tournament. Like it was a lot. And I offered, I was like, you guys are doing these artist drops. They were doing, having different artists design golfers. And I hit them up, like being like, you're releasing these artist drops. You're not doing any event around it. You're just releasing them. Like you literally don't even have like Twitter going on. Why don't we do a little show in your Discord and I'll host it? Like you don't really know who I am, community member, but trust me, I can do it. And I'll interview the artist and we'll do a little 30-minute show. And the first one we did was a guy, Tommy Wilson. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a minor league baseball player who's also an NFT artist. He kind of makes the round sometimes. He's pretty popular, I'd say. And like literally they said yes. They're like, yes, okay, strange person in the Discord. Like we will let you interview this minor league baseball player who's also an NFT artist in our Discord. And like 15 people showed up to listen to it. We had a great chat. And then after, the people at Blockly, which is a game that's actually owned by Turner Sports, which is an enormous sports media company, they're like, hey, like that was pretty good. Like you did a good job. Keep doing it. And I was like, okay, that's all I need. And then I started like hunting. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Let's start a show. Let's do something. And landed on starting a podcast the first week of January 2021 called The First Mint. And that happened. I wanted it to be all about NBA Top Shot, and it was. And even after I started the podcast, even my brother still wasn't convinced. Like I've been trying to get him into Top Shot for so long. But even after I started, I was like, man, I even started a podcast. Come and do this. And he was like, I don't know. And it wasn't until that Jonathan Bales article, which is kind of like the red pill moment for so many different people, where he wrote about buying the John Morant Cosmic for $35,000, that even people like my brother and a lot of people came in, and lo and behold, I was one of the only information sources about it. And that was a new podcaster's dream, to just have thousands of listeners in the span of a couple of weeks after starting a podcast that on a whim late on a Tuesday night. So that's the story of The First Mint.
Wow, I love that.
Dang. Let's go. Yeah, you guys cover. Sorry, I said flow, but you guys cover so rare, like all like Web3 sports stuff, basically.
Yeah, so that's been like a pivot that I kind of worked on in the last like 6 months, because at first, we spent all of 2021 covering Top Shot, which was good, but it was clearly time to kind of expand that. And the other sports projects were still like in their infancy. Like So Rare was still only soccer. UFC and NFL had just launched on Dapper, so they had a lot of hype, but there's only kind of so much depth. And I don't even know what else there is. There's a few other like Panini and stuff like that, but nobody really cares much about those. Tops, yeah, their wax coin, all that kind of stuff. But so we spent 2022 working with like different partners and honestly monetizing, right? Like we started selling advertising on our channels. We worked with different brands to kind of help them build their communities and kind of build a bit of an agency model. And then as that kind of evaporated, right, like probably a lot of business models in Web3 towards the end of 2022, I was like, you know what, the sports world in our little corner of the world here is developing quite a lot. Sports is something that is like always going to be 24/7, 365. It's something that like in terms of storyline is regenerative. Like there's very few other industries, maybe except like politics out there, where there is constantly like there's an automatic new storyline. It's like, doesn't matter if the story ended today, there's 82 games next season, and there's going to be plenty to talk about. New players, old players, so much going on. So kind of attaching ourselves to sport, to me, made a lot of sense to who we are, because it was going to allow us to keep making content, whether it was about NFTs or not, right? So it's very strategic, but also something that's very fun. Like that's what our community wants as well. Like could I just chat it up about sports and then talk about some of the funny stuff that happens on the NFT side as we kind of go through this bear market together, right? So I'd say that sports pivot is maybe like 6 or 7 months old now. And what I've been trying to do is actually kind of position The First Mint as kind of like the snapshot of everything that's happening in sports on the NFT side. So maybe a little less like, hey, let's look at every single new moment and look at the dunk and debate whether that's good or bad as a moment, but more so be like, okay, here's what's going on. Here's how much money these companies are making. Here's how many users this platform is bringing on. Here's whether this is a hit or a miss. And kind of like try to be kind of that central hub for all of it.
Wow. Okay. Damn. All right. Well, then speaking of topics, what's some sports stuff that happened this week? G, let us know.
Where
What's
are you
going
from? Who
on
are
in
your
sports?
teams? Where are you from?
I grew up in Toronto in Canada,
Okay.
right? So all the Canadian sports teams. It's funny, in Canada there's 7 NHL teams, but there's only one baseball team and one basketball team, right? So
Yeah.
naturally it's funny because then everybody, for a long time in Canada, to give you a bit of like national politics, like especially 20 years ago, everyone hated Toronto, right? Because Toronto had this reputation of kind of thinking that it was the center of the universe and being kind of like, it's the biggest city, so naturally it's popular, and you kind of have this adverse reaction where people are like literally there were billboards on the West Coast for Coors Light that were like, Coors Light colder than people from like colder than people from Toronto or something like that, like just like making fun of like people from Toronto being kind of pompous assholes.
Mhm.
So as a result, a lot of people cheer against the Maple Leafs, which is the NHL team, the most valuable NHL team, I will say. Like the Maple Leafs are like the same status of like the NBA is like the Knicks or the Yankees in baseball or whatever, or the Cowboys in the NFL. They're just like the big team that a lot of people love to hate. So
haven't they not made the playoffs in like 25 years or something? Or
they've made the playoffs plenty of times. They can't get out of the first round.
Okay,
yeah, so they've got like
enough.
Yeah, they've got like a horrific curse that follows them, despite having like a lot of fantastic players. So every year, including this year, is another kind of like do or die embarrassment. But what's funny is that everybody else in Canada hates the Toronto Maple Leafs, but because there's only one baseball team for Canada and it's in Toronto, and there's one basketball team for Canada and it's in Toronto. Everybody cheers for those two teams because everybody else in Canada has no problem being like, Raptors. I love when the basketball playoffs roll around like this week. I love Raptors, or like baseball season starts like we love Blue Jays, yeah. But then when you're like, but like they just omit the part where they like always talk about how much they hate the city. So it's kind of a funny dynamic in Canada being like a giant country with a small population. It kind of has that vibe. Yeah, so those are my teams. And all I will say, the Leafs this year, high expectations, or hopefully high results and low expectations for people who've been very disappointed by them. The Raptors are in the play-in tournament this week, right? So the NBA season's done. We don't know yet what Top Shot will be doing for the playoffs, but there's rumors that it's something really interesting. And on the baseball side, I've actually been super critical lately of like the baseball NFT companies that exist out there, because baseball just started. This is supposed to be the most exciting time of the season for baseball, right? Like a lot of what I've learned doing all this is that most of the interest for sports leagues happens right when the league starts, right? Like when does everybody talk about NFL? Not in November. People talk about NFL the first week of September when the NFL starts, right? So that's something I've learned through this journey, is that like the peaks and valleys of attention towards sports is something that these NFT companies really have to mirror. So I really believe that. So it's like Top Shot, the two main times that Top Shot should be pumping out the most exciting, let's try and get new users campaigns, should be now for the playoffs, and then in October when the season starts. Right. So that's kind of what I've learned in this, is that it's like they have to follow kind of the promotional wave of when people actually care about these things if they ever want to bring in new users. So as a result, I've been super critical of the baseball platforms, which are Candy Digital, which was founded by Michael Rubin and Gary Vaynerchuk, which Michael Rubin has since divested his and Fanatics a 60% share of the company. They no longer own 60% of it. That, yeah, I've been critical of them. And then also SoRare, which has the MLB rights and is in their second season of having MLB baseball NFTs. I've been very critical of them, especially through the month of March, because they weren't doing much, in my opinion. Like their campaigns hadn't really started yet. Like to me, it was a little too late for them to get the stuff going. And they didn't really seem to have like too much of a plan in terms of like growing this. And what you have to understand is like baseball, even though maybe we don't watch it as much, it's still an insanely popular sport, and one that is trying to, recoup young viewers. So because it's been losing a lot of young viewers, but it's still the second most popular fantasy sport in North America. So it has a lot of people that like to play gamified elements of baseball, like fantasy on SoRare, which you could do. And it is desperate for new young people to come to the game. So that to me is like, that's ripe for NFTs. So I was very critical of them through the month of March, saying that they weren't really doing enough. And
I hear that.
I hear
that.
I
hear that for sure.
But
I mean, I always see good things about SoRare. They're innovative. They seem to be crushing it volume wise and a lot of what they're doing, but that makes sense. I need to circle back real quick just to let you know
Yeah.
Andy and I are actually from Philadelphia. We're Philadelphia fans, and we will never forget. Toronto has ripped our heart out 2 times. Really badly. Really badly. One of them, the 30-year anniversary is coming up this October.
Uh-huh.
I was 14 years old when that happened, and I've still not gotten over the Joe Carter home run.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then I'm assuming you had some PTSD when the Kawhi shot happened 4 years back. That's pretty insane.
Trust me.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, man.
That was a clear travel, That was a clear travel.
They're not calling that.
That was a clear travel.
You tell yourself whatever you want.
That was a clear travel.
I'm happy we got one thing, because it'd been a pretty rough existence as a Raptors fan for all of 25 years at that point. So I'm glad we got one thing, and it's too bad the Sixers had to, probably take a pretty hard hit there. What I will say though, if you want to circle back on Toronto and Philadelphia sports history, the last time the Maple Leafs won a playoff round was in 2004. And they beat Ottawa. And in the second round, they played the Flyers. And they lost on a Jeremy Roenick overtime winner in Game 6, seconds after Darcy Tucker absolutely annihilated Sammy Kapanen against the boards, literally killed him.
Wow.
back when
memory.
concussion creating body checks where everybody was like, yeah, this is the best part of the sport, is that this guy's all fucked up now. And that was back in the days where let's watch 2 hours of highlights of the most concussion inducing hits of hockey. So it was, at the time it was awesome. But now kind of messed up to watch that highlight again. But my heart has been ripped out by Philadelphia as well, is what I'm going to say.
That's maybe nothing compared to. Well, I guess that's a good.
What's worse for you, the Joe Carter home run, or the Joe Carter home run, or the Kawhi?
Well, I mean, the Joe Carter home run
bias for you.
Yeah, the Joe Carter home run was worse for a few reasons. First of all, it was Game 6 of the World Series. Second of all, we were winning that game. So if we could have got out of that, we'd go to Game 7. Who knows? The Sixers won. It was tied. It was about to go to overtime, and we were running on fumes at that point. I don't even know if we would have won in overtime, even if he missed that shot. But they were both really bad. That was really bad because we still haven't gotten out of the second round yet. The Sixers in the whole the process, Joel Embiid and all that.
How do you feel about your first round matchup with the Nets?
I think that's probably about as good as it gets in the first round. They got a lot of their wins with different players that aren't there anymore.
And your second round date with the Celtics?
It's going to be boss. They have our number, man. So we're going to be the underdogs in the series. They're going to be the home team. I'm just hoping that we can get over the hump there, because they have our number. They beat us. We can be winning by 10 with 3 minutes left, and they still beat us. They have our number, or whatever.
And I'm rooting for you, man, because I will tell you this one thing that most Northeastern sports fans can all agree on, no matter what, is fuck Boston, fuck them and their sports teams, all of them, because they win so much all the time, and they just have terrible attitudes. So I hate them all.
No doubt. We can agree on that. We can agree on that.
Yeah, everybody can agree on that part. Yeah,
I love it.
I like how I started this by being everybody hates the Maple Leafs. It's really mean. And then now I'm what everybody hates? Boston.
What everybody really hates.
It's hard when people hate your sports teams. And now I'm okay, but we all hate these sports teams, right? Just bringing it right back.
And all the Celtics fans are listening how dare you?
No, they know. They know.
They know. Oh, okay.
They know. They want enough.
Matt Kalish is an avid listener, so if you're trying to get him on your show, he's
yeah, that was the only other time we talked about sports so much, where I was also just smiling Well, what do you mean? Is this turning into a sports podcast?
Every now and then we get it.
DraftKings is an interesting one. I didn't really know much about DraftKings outside of being a really casual user prior to NFTs, but obviously I've had to learn a lot more. So their product Rainmakers to me is really fascinating, because they have basically the absolutely ideal scenario where they already have an enormous user base of gamblers. right, of degens. Like they literally, it's like a direct pump of like, here's all the degens. Here's a even more degen product. Like, like that's something every other company absolutely wishes they could just tap into. Like if So Rare could just tap right into FanDuel, that would be amazing for them, but they can't, right? Like they have access to this giant user base, like 50 million active monthly users who all already spend gobs of money betting on stuff, some that win big, some that don't. So to bridge them over to a new platform, to me, has been a really interesting experiment. I do have some critiques of DraftKings that it might be a legal thing, but it's like it's hard at this point to kind of consider it fully an NFT product because you can't do much with the assets. You can't really take them outside of the platform. It's really hard to tap into their API to get data, and I had to really kind of like jump through a few different hoops to get even just their first season of football stuff. So it's something I know people are working on as like a potential data dashboard, but it is hard to see that stuff. And again, it being like a little centralized to me is not ideal. Even Dapper has been able to decentralize themselves. And So Rare, even you can take your stuff to OpenSea if you really want to. So I'd love to see DraftKings do that. But in terms of potential, like to me, like that's absolutely a place to watch because again, they have that user base and they've clearly been able to convert some of them over to the NFT product, right? Like last year, NFL All Day on Dapper and DraftKings Rainmakers, which you would say are the two premier NFL-based NFT projects, had about like the same number of unique buyers, right? Like Rainmakers had like 113,000, and through that first year, I think All Day had like around the same 110 or 120. So, you know what I mean? Like they're up there with the really native NFT products, and I think with that giant user base, like they've got a lot of potential. So yeah. Kalish, if you want to talk about that, man, hit me up. I'm always happy to chat. My rate is $10,000 an hour for any additional consulting outside of talking on this podcast. Exactly. And these guys get a 20% cut.
I'm so glad we got you for free, LG. Seriously, yes.
What was he like? What was he like when you had him on?
Matt was great. We had a really good chat.
They were just talking about sports the whole time.
We talked about a lot of sports. We talked about Rainmakers. We talked. One thing that I'm not a huge fan of with it is that the players expire after the first year. So all the players, like if you have players from this past season, you need to buy new players for next year.
You need to buy new players. Yeah. I mean, that does suck, but at the same time, I'll say that it's nice at least that they know that those are the rules of the game, and so do you, right?
Yeah,
so you can make those decisions based on it. Right. It sucks. I know what you mean. It sucks to have like an NFT like expire in the eyes of the NFT maker. It kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. But I like that, they've got those very clear goalposts, which is something that, and again, Dapper is a very different product. Dapper is collectible. It's not fantasy. But I know for a long time, and still now for Dapper, people criticize them for constantly moving the goalposts, changing the rules of the game. So I think at least Rainmakers, even if the rules aren't perfect, what the rules are, and that they're not going to drastically change them.
Okay, I gotta keep us on track here. We gotta get into the topics for the week. Michael, what has happened this week? We got a lot of stuff.
Nakamigos, we talked a little bit about it last week. That's kind of what everyone's talking about in the space. I actually picked one up this week. I got really lucky. I put it in the Discord.
Oh, that's right.
Like it went up when Beeple posted his every day about Nakamigos. It shot up to like 0.9. Then went all the way down to like 0.38. And for whatever reason, I got the urge. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and buy the dip. And I think it's going to come back. I think NYC, it's going to have a resurgence. And I almost never hit it like right on the bottom. I hit like right at the bottom. And then literally that same day, it went up to like 0.7. Now it's a 0.85. But something really cool happened with them this week. Gremplin, the artist behind Cryptodes and a few other things, he put out a 69-piece edition totally for free. But to get it, you had to burn a Nakamigos.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it sold out. That's actually at a 1 ETH floor. It would have been, monetarily a good move right now to have done that.
Gremplin's also, he did oddities, didn't he, for Moonbirds?
Yes. Gremplin did oddities for Moonbirds.
That's his main other thing, right? I think.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Thank you for that.
I think what my favorite part of Nakamigos, maybe you guys already talked about this in previous weeks, is that very similar to other projects in the past, is that the more I saw tweets of people being like, I don't know why people love this so much, it'll be gone in 2 weeks, the more I was like, this is going to keep exploding. Like it's such an obvious correlation when you have people that so like go out of their way to go on Twitter and be like, this random thing that you all love that's so stupid and silly is so stupid and silly that it's going to be gone. Just mark my words. Like that to me is the most bullish thing
They want to predict so bad.
See, and it was the same thing for freaking Goblin Town like a year ago. It was the exact same thing. It was like, oh, this is so stupid. They're on spaces making like dumb noises. Can't wait for this to be over so we can go back to,
Jenny was on. Jenny was on here
like,
making those noises. She was on this podcast.
She knows. She knows.
Like,
she's a tastemaker. Jenny's a tastemaker, man. Everybody knows that. Everybody
What's a
knows
tastemaker? What's a tastemaker?
A tastemaker is maybe that's like a marketing term. A tastemaker.
That's like when you like something, other people think it's cool because you like it.
You're somebody. You're early. You're early to like
Team
cultural
Eagle?
trends. You know what I mean? You're early to call. I'd say
I'll take
like,
the compliment.
yeah,
I'd
say a tastemaker is someone who's in between, like who's an influencer with good taste, basically, right? So somebody who's less influencer, like, hey, constantly shilling like the dumbest products, but more like, hey, you know what I'm kind of feeling right now is this thing that's like a little bit strange and weird, and to the point where people are like, oh, that's weird. You know what I mean? Like you're not late to the trends. You're a little bit ahead of them. Yeah, and to the point where you might miss sometimes, but that's okay. That's your taste. That's what I think. That's what a tastemaker is in today's culture.
I'll take the compliment. Thank you.
I think that's fair. Like I don't know. I think it's fair to call you that. I mean, yeah, sure, compliment, but I think it's good. I think it's accurate.
I think it's accurate. I have been early in a lot of stuff, but I also miss a lot of stuff. But yeah,
that's okay. Can't be perfect.
The thing that brought down Goblin Town, speaking to them, is when the founders were announced. There was
yes. And I was thinking that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, Mike. I was thinking about that like prior to even when I was thinking about coming on the show, and then just in general, I was thinking about Nakamigos. I was like, you know what? Goblin Town, like, it totally destroyed them when they came out for their victory lap. And then it was like, nobody cares anymore. You know what I mean? And great team. I know,
right.
Alex Taub, and it's like great team behind it, super genius, right? Showing that people can still come up with really great creative trends in the space. But as soon as they took the mask off, it was like, it's done. And they've done all these other things like the Goblin Burger, all that stuff. They still got I'm sure, a really strong small community. But to me, Nakamigos is the same thing. It's like everyone's wondering what next. But if the next is like some reveal, even if it is Beeple, I still think it won't be like the speculation and the anticipation is it just drives space so much for that kind of stuff.
And who knows where it'll go to? Like, I think that this week in NFT NYC, they're having like a bunch of community events. And I think that they're going to be a big talk of NYC. I think it's going to get a pump this week, unless this week's pump's already built in, because 0.85 is pretty decent. But I'm gonna look to sell mine at some point. I'm not like hodl forever type of. I'll take a nice profit and wish I had more than one, but
dude, those are famous last words, man. You know what? That's another thing I always hear. People like, "I'll take profit soon," is like right, and then it dies. Like
I know.
I know. Michael,
and you're like, I wish I sold at a point.
I should just sell it right now.
Sell it.
I want that thing gone by the time we're done recording.
Let me just
get that thing out of here.
Let me just.
I'm gonna do it right now. Let me floor it and get the fuck out.
Floor it.
It's gonna triple so hard tomorrow. It's gonna be like 3 ETH.
I know. No, it's going to. I think it's going. If I sell it, it will. If I sell it, it's going to 5.
What if people are like, while they're watching, is like, oh, he sold, sell it, and everyone starts.
Some people do. I'm like weird about what I like. I have burner wallets that people don't know about, but that's besides the point.
Oh, so you can dump on your followers.
I don't dump on my followers. No.
I use my wife's Top Shot account to dump on all my Top Shot followers. That's not true.
Well, you
can't dump if it doesn't go up.
That actually, you bring up a really good point, and you probably feel this. Like, we've talked about a million projects over the last almost 2 years now that that we liked and we thought were really good and that have gone down to almost nothing. A lot of them. I don't know. Do you think about that? Like, where I don't know if I won't say you're pumping stuff, but like, yeah, but like, I mean, Top Shot, hey, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And none of it, ended up being at this point.
I think it's really hard, and we've got an expert tastemaker on the show. Who can probably relate to this quite a lot. No, but I think it's tough doing a show, and you guys are in the same position where it's like, you want to talk about things that are interesting to you, and you do want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about things that everyone else is talking about, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
Like that's also what people want to hear about, and it's also what you want to talk about. Like, sure, you want to talk about Doodles this week? Nothing's going on with Doodles, right? Like, but it's like Nakamigos. That's cool. When it's Doodles time, talk about Doodles. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's you're talking about the news, and that's fun. That's what people want, and you also want to talk about things that are interesting to you. And when something is pumping and it's so unbelievable, of course you want to talk about it. That's what people want to hear about. You want to talk about it. Maybe you hold some, even better. But then when it starts to suck, right, which is such like a finite line in NFTs of when something kind of gets lame, right? When something just kind of starts to feel weird. It's such a thin line that you naturally as a content creator, you're like, well, I don't know if I want to talk about it that much. But if you turn coat and you go on the show and you're like, hey, you know what? This collection, I'm not feeling it that much anymore. People can fucking snap at you because they bought it because you liked it, right? And then there's a fine line. So then but then the other option is to not stop talking about it and to just ignore it. And then 6 months later, people are like, why don't you talk about
what happened
anymore?
with that?
You know what I mean? Like that's what happened to us, right? Like Ballers is a good example. Like Phil saw Ballers. Like we did Flow Fest. For anybody who follows First Mint, we did Flow Fest back in 2021. And Jenny, you're at Evaluate then, right? I think.
Yeah,
I
think Christian and I presented some.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, so you were part of Flow Fest a little bit, right? So and Gaia NFT Genius, they wanted to launch Ballers in like the Flow Fest packs, which you were giving out during the thing, and then they were going to do their mint like midway through Flow Fest. And Phil got like one look at the Ballers, and he was like, "Oh fuck, these are fucking sick." You know what I mean? Like he snapped, like it was legit, like it wasn't even on the show. Like he was like, "Man, these are super cool. I want some." So then, we started not pumping them, just being excited about them. And I think a lot of other people saw them as well and were like super stoked about them. And we kind of rode that wave of their popularity because we were excited about them. It was super fun. They made a lot of great promises of like having this game and all this different stuff. But then as the winds of change came in like Q1, Q2, 2022, other projects came along. We started talking about other stuff because like you guys, you kind of just keep talking about new stuff over time. Things just kind of change. And I think that's like a good example of a project. And I'm sure you guys probably have this too, where people are like, hey, like you were super into it when it was hot. Why aren't you anymore? Right. But it's like, that's kind of like the dilemma as a content creator. It's like, well, it's not that I don't support the project and want to see it do well, but if we only ever talk about things, if we start talking about something and then we stick to it, even after we kind of like aren't as hot on anymore, and neither is our community, it's really hard to create content. So I'm kind of I'm honestly just using this as a therapy session right now with you guys as to like how to tackle that. But I learned that like kind of not the hard way, but the weird way with Top Shot, right? It was like Top Shot, like in May 2021, everyone starts talking about apes. And we're talking about us, and then there's Cool Cats. And there's all these other, not Cool Cats, Top Shot, Cool Cats, and ETH, and all these other projects launching. And I'm like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? Because I still like Top Shot. They're not doing well right now because market's crashing. People like this other stuff. I don't like it, so I'll stick to Top Shot. But then, a lot of people made the jump, right? People start talking about other things. So I think it's just kind of like a strange thing as a content creator. I don't know if you guys have any personal thoughts you want to share there, but it's a bit of a strange journey when this kind of stuff happens, right? So it's like, you're right, Michael. Like if you go sell your Nakamigo right now, and tomorrow it's a half the price, people will be like, Michael, this is your freaking fault, man. Like you're supposed to pump these forever, and now it's because of you. Right. So it's a tough space sometimes.
Yeah. Luckily I have zero cell shame, so that would not bother me.
Yeah, Michael doesn't have cell shame. And
that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Be super shameless about it. Be like, it's worth a lot. I'm selling it. Fuck you guys.
I know. Pretty much.
That's the attitude. That's so good.
But he's always transparent about it. Like he'll be like, I just bought this, but I'm probably gonna sell it in a couple of days. Like he always will like say that, like as a disclaimer, like probably gonna sell it. So that people know like that he's just a trader and like he'll just buy and sell things.
We always used to say like we'll tell you what we're doing and why we're doing it, but we don't don't do.
And we can't say everything. Like we're not gonna remember every single thing. Like even when you buy, you're like, Doodles, nothing happened with Doodles this week, and I'm like, oh, I totally forgot. Like I threw a Doodles event like in their Discord. Like
I ran a community you just did like 2 days ago. That's right.
It was a whole trading wearables Doodles 2 trading party. Evaluate. Obviously, you can trade your Doodles 2 wearables, and I like hosted this whole 2.5 hour event. And like I sometimes forget to bring things up. I'll just like like Michael usually writes the topics, and then if I think of stuff, I'll add to it. But it's like you don't always remember everything you want to say, you know. So, and with Top Shot, like I feel you because like I was making, you know, my YouTube videos, and then I kept going, you know, and things started crashing, and then I was like, this isn't really as fun for me anymore because it's just me reporting negativity, and I don't like that, and it's also like. I'm still into it, but I also feel, you know, then there was also a lot of pressure. People were like, I got into Top Shot because of you. And it's like, you know, all this stuff. And you're like, oh, shoot. Like, you know, and yeah. And then,
I got into Top Shot because of you. And
which is fine and cool. And like, I still buy moments to this day, but I'm also like, you know, I don't know. It definitely is a lot of pressure, like as a content creator, like being vulnerable and like saying what you want to say, but also, you know, not wanting to like obviously give financial advice and like say too much. And it's just like you kind of have to like figure it out. And
Jenny, you had this tweet. I don't know if we can find it.
Oh
you had
God!
This tweet.
And people always
like we all did.
mention my old tweets.
Jenny, we all have
yes.
tweets like this. I don't know why I remember this. As clearly I have like a strange memory, but I
think
remember
I know
it was
what you're
like the
gonna say.
end of March, and it was like around now in 2021, right? And it was like Top Shot was like in free fall because they're like, hey, there's moments that have 40,000 mint counts now, which was berserk.
Yes.
This is always going to be terrible. And they were like, here's 1 million all-star sets. And it was like bad. It was like a bad scene. Mm-hmm. We'd passed the peak and things were like dying. Yeah. And you tweeted something that I always remember. You were like, everyone just walk away for a couple weeks and come back and it'll be up again. And you said something like that. And I just remember looking at me like, Jenny, no, like, I don't know if that's true.
I know people got really mad at me. People started getting really mad at me because I was always very optimistic and positive and being like, it's cyclical, like it'll come back and, you know, guys, it's just hodl. Let's team hodl. Let's all just hold. And everyone's like, how dare you tell people to hold? And then, like, no, it's not going to turn around. And I was like, oh shit. So then I was like, I just need to stop like kind of talking about Top Shot and I was the type of person, I had hope for a lot longer than most of these people. And people thought that I didn't, that I lost hope. No, I was holding out hope for so much longer than everybody else. And even still, I always say this, I have a toxic relationship with Top Shot. I'll still buy moments, even though I know that they're going to go down lower. Like, I'm still collecting S1 comments. And it's just, it is what it is. Like, but yeah, I realized that like, okay, I had like people were listening to me and like, I can't just say like, oh guys, it's going to be okay. Cause it was not going to be okay. And it was not okay. And,
oh my God.
And, Top Shot people, they always bring up my old tweets. Like, remember when you said that you would buy all commons if they dipped under $30, and now like the floor is like $6.
I remember actually, it was like you or maybe Steph who was like, there will never be a $1 floor on Top Shot, and I think Phil sent me the tweet being like, I don't think it's true. Like,
I regret some things I said. I regret some things I said for sure, and that just comes with the territory of being a content creator, you know. But
it's really hard to put yourself out there. I'll also say that it's really, really hard. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there, especially in a time like that. That was so crazy. And I don't think anybody could have predicted that type. Now we're just talking about Top Shot. I don't think anybody could have predicted that kind of crash, not even Top Shot. And I think if they knew that would have happened, I don't think they would have minted all that stuff so crazy. That's a very heated debate, obviously, with a lot of the news recently. But I don't think that they ever wanted to create that kind of sentiment. Right. And I think that with such a high, when things go so high, they're going to go, when the sentiment gets so high, it's going to go very low at some point. That's just the law of nature. So, we've learned a lot, Jenny, since then, both you and I, in terms of how to taste make, how to taste make properly. And I'm very happy we're both still here. Michael, you too.
That's the thing.
Thank you.
You didn't write any crazy like Top Shot things like we do.
Not Top Shot, but not the one that always comes to mind for me is Smiles. All Smiles. You know that project.
Oh,
I'm a huge.
Michael was like, "It's going to 10 ETH."
I did say that. I love Wahid, and it was just so good. And he got signed by Time, and I was all, and I thought, and I know some of our listeners bought pretty high. I know that. I know Ali bought a couple high. But I mean, I never sold one. Like I have like 15 of them that I paid high as well for some of them. I also minted. I have the ones I minted. Like I'm a huge fan of it, but it went down and it's down into whatever it is, 07 or whatever it is at this point from 2 ETH floor. And I definitely like, you know, people probably bought, people I don't even know that probably don't even interact with me probably bought because of how I pumped. And I feel bad about that.
Is this our time to just apologize? Wait, can we all, guys, we are so sorry for everything.
No, you can't apologize. No,
she's like,
no apologizing.
Show your weakness.
It's nothing really to apologize about. It's nothing necessary to apologize about, but I do feel a little bit bad, you know, like it's definitely, you have to learn, and when things are going crazy, I guess just be measured and be honest. The main thing is to be honest and not do shady things, and like don't be the person that one night says how great it is and the next day sell all your stuff.
Right.
Like,
as long as your intentions, like you're saying that because that's how you feel. It's not like you're trying to deceive. Right. And that's the difference. Like people that are
honestly, I don't want people buying what I say to buy. Like that makes me uncomfortable. I'm not trying to give anybody like advice like that. I'm lucky if I make a good move myself. You know, we all thought we were like these expert traders in the summer of 2021, you know, and like everything we were buying was 50x in 3 days. Like we thought
it wasn't us, like, it was just the market.
Yeah, I was like Warren Buffett. I was like, oh, this is gonna go on forever.
Right. Yeah.
Warren Buffett. Yeah, after 4 months, you're like, I'm basically Warren Buffett.
This is like
investing for 70
I am
years.
the greatest NFT trader that's ever existed. Yeah.
Man.
Pretty wild times.
Thanks for sharing, you guys. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Go Smiles.
All right,
Go Smiles.
Take a deep breath.
I still love
Smiles.
What's going to go up more?
My favorite.
What's going to go up more between now and the end of the year? The Smiles floor, or I don't even know how to measure success on Top Shot anymore.
S1 comments. That's my measure.
Floor? Oh my God. Percentage wise, I don't know. Go Smiles. That's all I say. It's not even a question.
Go
Just
Smiles.
Go Smiles, man. Go Smiles.
It'll
Michael,
have its
go
day.
Smiles,
Wahid is young. Wahid is awesome and talented. Smiles will have its day one day. Sweep the floor, folks. Sweep the floor.
No, I was like, okay.
Financial advice. It's going back. Is it floors? I think like
0.07 or something.
Yeah, it's low.
I remember
it's going back to 10 ETH guaranteed.
Quote that.
Yeah.
No.
What was the peak floor? What was the peak floor?
It got over 2. It got over 2.
It wasn't too crazy, but
it wasn't like
I bought around 1. Michael influenced me, actually.
Yeah,
you influenced me.
Really, you bought it. I know. I influenced a lot.
But I influenced you to buy. What did I influence you to buy? The Cool Cat at 10 ETH, right?
Yeah, 9 ETH. You didn't. I did that on my own.
Okay.
I did that on my own. You influenced me not to sell it when it got to 15.
You influenced me.
That's what happened.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
I bought it on my own at 9. I was ready to sell to 15, and Jenny said, "But then we all won't have
exactly." The 3 of us all had one, and I thought it was like a cool, fun. Like I'm very like sentimental with the stuff, and I guess that comes with being a bag holder. And I was just like, "No, Michael, be a bag holder with us," like you know. But
what do you guys think is what's more dangerous? So a pumper or a someone who encourages you to hold? Like what's more dangerous for people?
I'm that holder.
Yeah, you tell everybody to just hang on to it.
Yeah, that's me because that's what I do and that's what I say. And then people are like, "That's messed up." Like, and I get it.
Yeah, I don't love the people that are like. The only people that are telling you to hold, well, I'm not Jenny, like it's not about you, but the most like the vibe I get of the people that are like hold it are the ones that are holding themselves and want it to go up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like I don't know. It's just that's a weird vibe. I don't like people telling other people what to do with their investments.
Yeah.
Either way.
But inevitably, we will do in an
we will.
Right? Like if you're like. People want to listen and even if you're standing at the bus stop and you overhear somebody saying like, "Man, I bought tons of Tesla stock last night." You don't even care why. You're just like, "Shit." You know what I mean? Like that's just like that's just like how it works. Like it doesn't have to be like a podcast that people that people listen to. You just hear other people saying that they're doing something and you kind of think about doing it yourself. So that's the game, you guys. That's the game. Wow, that was a good tangent. That was a good therapy session.
That was
That was
a
sharing.
really, when you started bringing that up, I mean, that's definitely a really good point. And it was cool that the two separate podcast groups could talk to each other, about how they have to navigate that. That's an interesting.
Yeah, but hey, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, folks. Like, you're going to get things wrong. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to make the wrong calls. Like, but that's okay. Like, we're humans, and, that just goes with the territory. Like, that shouldn't discourage you from doing things, because it's inevitable. It really is. Anyway, okay, we got more topics. We got to go back to the topics.
LG, you familiar with MUMBOT, the artist?
No.
Okay, that's all good. She's one of our really good friends of the show. Very successful artist, Ghost Club. She's done all kinds of stuff. Gary Vee owns her work, and they kind of blew her up in 2021, and then she does all kinds of cool stuff. But she did our 100th episode ProApp, been on the show a couple times. But the reason I bring her up is because she did her first episode of her podcast called Ghost Coffee, where she interviewed David Horvath. I'm going to guess you don't know him, but he's also a very popular toy maker. He's got a show on Nickelodeon. But the reason I bring it up is because Andy is the executive producer. So we're kind of partnering with them, helping them to produce their podcast content for Ghost Club, MUMBOT, and we're kind of gonna help them do their thing. But she released the first episode. It's called Ghost Coffee with MUMBOT, and she's with David Horvath. So anyone that wants to go Spotify and Apple, check it out. Andy produced it, our beloved Andy here. And hopefully we're going to have like kind of an umbrella podcast. We've talked about it for a long time, but we're going to, Andy's a really good producer, and we're going to start kind of having a little crew under the NFT Catcher umbrella.
Wow. Congrats. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's exciting. And it was really good. Mama did a really good job. She's literally one of my favorite people, not even just in NFTs, but like just anywhere, honestly.
She's
Love
very
Mama.
kind
We
soul.
all do. She is. Absolutely.
She's given me so many gifts. Every time I see her, she's like, "Oh my God, I have something for you." And then she just gives me something amazing. And I'm like, "Oh my God, what? Like, how are you so nice?"
Yeah.
Anyway.
She's awesome. So that's exciting. And that came out this week. So I wanted to shout it out. What else do we have? What happened with Soulja Boy, Jenny? I saw you commenting on it. He released an NFT.
Hopped
and
about
Ferrari
the
made him take it down.
bed, turn my swag on, take a look in the mirror, say what's okay. I can't be rapping. I need to stop rapping on the pod.
Keep going. It's fine. Keep going.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm getting
Move
money.
aside, Los.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I don't follow his NFT. But yeah, apparently his first collection got rugged because he used like the Ferrari logo and like Nike logo, all that. And then he didn't even do anything for the people that were holders. Like, literally just was like, "Oh well, SOL to you guys." And then he dropped another collection. And then people bought it because people are gonna just buy things because it is the NFT space. What are you gonna do?
Degen.
Exactly. Degen's gonna degen. So yeah, that's basically
That's
the
great.
sitch. And now people are just pissed off. They're like, "Really, Soulja Boy?" Like,
Didn't
3
you have
rugs
a
in a row?
quote
Come
that
on.
said like, "At least I didn't invest a lot in that one"? Like, the one that got taken down.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
and then people were like, "Well, everybody that was paying 0.2 kind of did."
And he's like, "Oh well."
Ouch.
Yeah.
Does being in NFTs, has this raised or lowered your opinion of B-list celebrities like him?
I don't like celebrities to begin with, but yeah, I mean, it's not cool seeing them come in the space and just like drop rugs that they don't even care. Like, whenever people don't put effort into stuff, it's just really like, yeah, it does piss you off. It's like, really? Come on, this is a serious space.
Right. It's a merchandising opportunity for most of them. It's the same thing as selling T-shirts to them.
Yeah. It's definitely,
Their agent comes to them, "Hey, we got this deal."
yeah, it's definitely made me realize that it's like even them and even some NBA players we've tried to have on the show and stuff like that, that it's like, it might seem well-intentioned, but at the end of the day, they are just looking for more ways to make money on their brand. Right. And
Their coach, do you remember? Yeah, Shaq was on Rug Radio talking about it's all about the community, and like, when we haven't heard from him for 2 seconds since then. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
there.
seriously. What's the bigger rug? You talk about smiles or Rug Radio having Shaq on talking about
I know. Rug Smiles wasn't I wouldn't call that a rug. That's not my words. That's LG's words right there.
LG no one playing them.
You pump them at 2 ETH, man, and they're 0.05. Come on.
It is a fledgling business at this point. Rug is not going to be my word. Rug is not going to be my word.
That's funny.
Let's just make that clear.
Okay, what else? What else we got?
Dez Bryant had his ape stolen this week, which was sad. He has a real nice one that he represented for a long time. It was a cheetah ape with a crown, so it's probably decent amount above the floor.
Jeez.
What did he click? Did you see what he clicked? I saw something about this.
Yeah, I went.
Did you see that?
I didn't see what he clicked. I went back into the post today to see if I could figure it out. What happened?
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure he clicked. Okay, you guys said I could swear, but is this rated M for mature on this podcast?
Yeah, it is.
Because this is where it's going.
It's rated M for mature.
Okay, good. I mean, it has to be for NFTs. There's a lot of weird perverted stuff out there. So apparently, I'm going to post this in our chat so you guys have a look at it later.
Scared.
So he apparently, because we were trying to figure out, like, what did he click on? Right? Like, what did, and he apparently the contract that exploited him was something called MILF token.
Bro, what?
So he clicked on something called
Dez.
like MILF token, and the account that took his ape, it's literally like its ENS address or something like that is called fake_phishing, like PH phishing, like 178. So he got fished clicking on MILF token.
Actually, I think that contract, that name is changed by Etherscan once it's flagged as a scammer account. That's not the actual.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Because I saw a conversation about that particular piece. But you probably got the rest of it right. I just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
Can't change the name of MILF token, dude. So MILF token.
MILF token. No.
You can't make these things up, folks. You can't make these things up. Like getting scammed with your Bored Ape, clicking a link to some MILF token, like with your Bored Ape in it. I mean, unreal.
Right, with your Bored Ape in it. Like that's the problem. You can click around on stupid things on a burner wallet.
Did he click on MILF token because he thought that he's like, I like MILFs, so I'll, this is like a thing. This is my preference, or because he was like, MILF token is going to be generational wealth. Like he clicked on something that's like, some MILF token right now. It's the next apes, and he was like, I have an ape, and I want the next ape, so I'm going to click some MILF token. You know what I mean? Which one do you think it is?
Or maybe it was like, if you have an ape, you can claim this MILF token.
Right.
Apes only MILF token. And he's like, yes, finally.
Utility does this get him? Like, what was
or even further, Jenny? Do you think he was like, that's the key to adoption? Finally, MILF token. Like we finally have what we need. Forget all this other stuff, all these Web3 gaming, all that stuff, man. MILF token is where it's at.
This is the future.
That'd be great. We need to know. You guys got to get Dez on the show to talk about what his thinking was that night. It needs to be like
I don't want him on the show.
No,
it needs to be like a serious. It needs to be like an Oprah style interview. Okay, you need to like fly to where he is. It needs to be like outdoors, like really kind of safe location.
Is he at VCon? Is he going to be at VCon?
Yeah, even maybe it's a stunt for VCon. Maybe he's launching MILF token at VCon.
Oh my gosh.
VCon's really gone downhill since last year, let me tell you. You got MILF token now.
Oh man.
Jenny, are you speaking at VCon? Are you there again this year?
I am. I'm like gonna be the panel question asker. I always say it. Panelist, whatever. Panel host. That's what it's called.
Host.
Yeah. And Steph's coming with me this year, which I'm so excited about. So
beauty. Awesome. That'll be fun.
Let's take Indy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're excited. Andy and I we go third class.
No, this year. So LG, last year they flew me out first class. They had a freaking driver for me. They had the whole freaking 9 yards. This year they're like, unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to do first class. Like
know. Watch what you say. Watch what you say, because like tomorrow you might get an email. We've revoked your.
They had a driver. There was like a guy. When I got to the airport, this guy was like, Jenny from the blockchain, like holding this sign. And I was like, oh. And then this year they're giving me like an Uber code, to to my hotel, I mean, but it's totally fine. Like, I am not bougie at all. In New York, in fact, I'm staying at a super ratchet hotel that doesn't even have a bathroom in it. It has like one bathroom on the whole floor.
Oh no.
So I am not bougie. So I do not mind.
Oh no. That's
But
less than not bougie.
It was like,
But you're staying. That's called Jenny. That's called a hostel. That's not a hotel. That's a hostel. There's one toilet for the floor. It's a hostel. It's not a hotel. That's not.
Yeah.
Are you in a bunk bed with strangers? Because that's a hostel.
It's a room with 8. There's 8 beds in the room. We have a
it's a private-
lockbox.
Yeah, we call those
It's a
hostels.
private
That's how you get
room.
around when you're traveling like Central America.
They offer tours of the city in the lobby.
It's a private room, but I understand that it's a
No,
big
they offer-
ghetto.
You know what they offer? They're like, do you want to go to the it's like a mud pit in a volcano and the mud's good for you. Like that's the most classic trip you can do when you go like backpacking in like South America is like that's the day trip. They're like, get on the chicken bus and we're gonna bring you to the volcano. And the volcano is like 10 feet tall and you climb a little ladder and you sit in it and they cover you in mud and they charge you like $100.
Have you
That's
done
the most
this?
that's the most common. Yes. Everybody who's been to Central South America.
I did that in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I did that exact thing. You go in the mud, you rub yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody's been convinced to do that. Yeah. And they're always like, this is the only one in the world like this. Like, this is where we have tons of seismic activity here. And that's how we have this volcano. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, the minerals. Yeah, they could bottle
The minerals. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just mud. It's just mud.
Right.
Anyways,
right.
that's what Jenny's going to do with Gary Vee at VCon. They're going to go on the mud adventure.
Wow.
All the other tastemakers.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways.
You go travel around to any of the festivals? Is that your thing? No, not so much.
Last year, yeah, not this year. Not planning on it. Staying home. I really enjoy. I'm just happy that like the pandemic's like pretty over now. Because even like last summer, things had just opened, and then like everybody else at NFT NYC, I got like horrific COVID. So I'm just like I want to stay local, man. Like I live out on an island on the west coast of Canada. Live here for lifestyle kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't want to travel. Like I want to spend my weekends here. You know what I mean? So, and traveling is really hard. I have to drive 30 minutes to a ferry, drive my car onto the boat. And then from there, drive like an hour to the airport. And if we're flying to the US, we have to go through customs on the Canadian side. So it's like, and we're on the West Coast already. So even just getting to the airport is already a 3-hour journey. And then if I'm going to fly to New York, it's a 5-hour flight plus the time change is 8 hours, right? So it's like I can't even get to New York in one calendar day if I leave as early as I can. Like it's actually not possible. So traveling's a bit of a pain, unfortunately, where I live. Unless I want to be bougie and pay $500 for a float plane to take me from like 5 minutes from my house to the Vancouver airport or to Seattle, then I can, but not this summer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to bring events to you.
Yes.
Right, what else
hey, listen, Dapper's based in Vancouver. There's been I think there's an NFT Vancouver at the end of the month or something like that. But
we should like put together some type of meetup because I actually do want to go to Canada. I've never been to Canada. I think it'd be sick to go to Canada.
It's a big place. There's a lot of places you could go in Canada.
Yeah.
Vancouver is an interesting place. Toronto is very far from Vancouver. Montreal is very fun. How about you, Michael? Yeah, I was going to say, everybody on the East Coast of the U.S. goes to Montreal when they're like 18 or 19 to go get wasted because you can. I don't say that. You just go to have fun on your school trips.
Yeah. I was there about 10 years ago for a bachelor party. That's when I went to Montreal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did go to Toronto and Niagara Falls when I was like 19. I did go to Toronto and Niagara Falls. Yep.
Nice.
But those are the 2 times I've been to Canada. Or those 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you guys think of Canada as like a far away, like barren wasteland?
No. But I do know that isn't like 70% of the population of Canada south of Detroit or something like that?
There's an image you can pull up that's like it's like 60% of the Canadian population is below this line, and it's basically like Ontario, where like Toronto is, kind of curves down into the middle of the Great Lakes. So it's kind of like even footing with like New York and Detroit, or not Detroit. Right, Detroit's a little further south, but it's kind of like on the same geographical like latitude, or longitude. So, and that's like where most of Canada was settled.
Yeah.
Right. Like the East Coast of the US, same thing. So that's where a lot of population is concentrated. And most of Canada, no, we're just no, it's a Canadian history lesson. Most of Canada, probably like a lot of places in the West in the US, are just stops on the train line from like 200 years ago or 150 years ago. Like that's what most, like the Western United States, all the cities are just old train stops, right? Like they're just there's no reason for there to be like a Las Vegas or a Denver. They just needed a place for the train to stop. So it's like that's to get to the West. So that's all of Canada is just like one straight line of cities, one in every province, the whole way along. Vancouver is the end of the line. And all of those are like cities with like 1 million people now. And that's Vancouver's a bit more, but that's basically like what Canada is. It's just places where they had to put train stops so they could tap into the natural resources of the country. So yeah, it's something like 80% of the Canadian population lives within 100 miles of the US border.
Right. Right.
Oh, wow.
So all those cities are like on the lower part of the country. So the whole northern part of the country is, the further north you go, the more uninhabitable it is, but also like harder to grow food, but also it's so far that there's just not enough, there's not enough cities or anything out there that there's no point to live there. But over time we could expand. Like we have there's a lot of land that is habitable actually, like that you could grow food on. And
especially as the globe war, it's gonna be nice up there. You should probably start buying land.
Yeah.
Northwest Territories and stuff.
Northwest Territories. Yeah, it's like the ice will melt, the polar bears will die, and then we can all live there. Right. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna be perfect.
Excellent.
It's gonna be some of that oceanfront property is gonna be nice.
Ocean. That's like the Arctic cap will now be an ocean, and we can all live right beside it. There won't be a North Pole, but we can all live at the ocean formerly known as the North Pole, and it will be a tropical ocean, and that'll be the only place where you don't die from the heat. Like that's basically what's gonna happen. Honestly, we're joking about it. That's very likely.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Yeah, it's dark. It's dark. It's very dark now. What else is going on in NFTs this week?
Well, what else, Michael?
The only other thing I had on my list is actually just to talk about my absolute AI obsession, that I can't stop creating AI art using ChatGPT-4 for everything. But the art, I'm like, my son and I are making all these crazy Pikachus. Pikachu is Terminator, Pikachu on a futuristic motorcycle, a glass Pikachu, like all this. It's so cool. And anybody that wants to try out Midjourney can come right into our Discord, and you can do it for free. You get a bunch of free ones right in our Discord. So come in, ask me how to do it, and I'll set you up. And there's a bunch of people that make the art in the channel. Most of it's me, but there are people.
Yeah. The limit is 10, I think, is for me. When I did a couple.
Yeah, you can do about 10.
You can only do 10. I was like, So,
but for $10 a month, I pay $10 a month right now, and I get hundreds of them.
Oh, so I could pay $10 a month if I wanted to do more.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but I just love it. I mean, Midjourney is so good, and I've been following lots of new AI people on Twitter. The AI Twitter's bustling. It's probably more than NFT Twitter. Honestly.
Bustling. I've never heard bustling.
Bustling. It's bustling.
Bustling. It's like bussing and hustling.
It's
bustling.
Like hustle, like the hustle and bustle. You know, hustle and bustle. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
It's bustling.
And this is a good little alpha leak we have an episode coming up with an AI artist. So be on the lookout for that, folks.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Damn.
Cool.
Okay, should we do the volume chart?
Yeah, let's do the volume chart. We actually haven't done that in a while. A lot of our episodes, LG, we end with the 7-day top collectible sales, top collection rankings by sales volume. And I do it over on Crypto Slam because they mix the blockchains up.
Hey. Yeah.
So we're gonna run through it. Number 1 for the last 7 days is Nakamigos, believe it or not.
My God.
At 10.5 million. Number 1 is Nakamigos. Number 2 is Other Deed. Number 3 is the Bored Ape Yacht Club. You might have heard of them. Number 4 is Jenny's favorite project, Azuki, which is still a 15 ETH, back up to that. Number 5 is the Genesis, which OpenSea dropped. Genesis, if you had bought anything on Gem XYZ before March 23rd or whatever it was, you could claim one of these. That's number 5. CryptoPunks number 6. Mutants number 7. SoulCasino.io on Solana did 3.75 million this week. Never heard of it.
Never heard of that.
some kind of sounds shady. Soulcasino.io.
What?
The Captains is number 9, which is that 9 gag. And So Rare.
Yeah.
So Rare, which we spoke about, is number 10.
There we go. There we have it, folks.
Nothing too crazy. At 9 Ethereum projects, only 1 Solana, nothing else other than that on this. And there we go.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, this was a great episode. LG, I just want to say this was this takes the cake as the record for the most, how do I put this? For a Sunday recap episode, we talked about topics the least out of this whole episode. I feel like we were talking about a ton of different stuff. So it was good, but it's just in true LG fashion. There's a lot of different stuff we talked about this episode.
And Jenny, and if you want some more of that, head on over to the First Mint on Twitter.
Yes.
It's a weekly show. It's like 2.5 hours long right now. There is a version of me that's not me who co-hosts the show with me. That some people have said is an even more Canadian version of LG. That is the co-host, my brother.
He has more of an accent.
And we
does.
Exactly. And we spend the first hour. What the fuck was that,
Sorry,
man? That wasn't a Canadian.
That
was terrible.
That was not Canadian.
I'm not a good accent person. That was off the cuff. That was really bad. I apologize to all of our Canadian listeners. I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry. That was
Anyways, if you like 90% life talk and 10% NFT talk and sports, head on over to the First Mint, where you can hear about things like Phil coaching a hockey team, Phil being stuck in traffic and how much he hates the mayor, and other such thrilling things. Michael, since you made fun of Canadian accents, let's hear from you. There are many well-known, very good Canadian accent tours, as in actors, let's say, who have graced the screen. Who is your favorite between Mike Myers and Jim Carrey? Both proud Canadians.
For me, I mean, they both have some awesome movies, but I'm a Mike Myers guy. I grew up. That was like when I was a little kid. That was my heyday. Saturday Night Live, Wayne's World. Like Jim Carrey's got some, like obviously Ace Ventura and all that stuff. But I have to, between the two, I'm Mike Myers.
Nice. Jenny, do you have a preference? You ever heard of those movies?
Yeah. I would say Jim Carrey for me. I think, I don't know. I think more movies of him came out during my time than Mike Myers. But yeah, I like Jim Carrey. He's funny. He's a funny guy.
Nice.
But what's your preference? What do you pick?
That's such a hard question. I don't have an answer.
You literally
I think honestly,
his answer is Bryan Adams. His answer is Bryan Adams.
I think Wayne's World and Austin Powers and stuff are quite iconic, but there's nothing that made me laugh. Like when I watched Ace Ventura, I think the first or second one for the first time, and so however old I was, like 10. I didn't know that I could laugh that hard. And I remember laughing when he comes out of the rhino's ass, like that made me laugh, where like my face hurt from laughing. Like I couldn't breathe because I didn't realize that something could be that funny. So I'll give it to Jim Carrey just for being just like on a completely, at least for me, like I just didn't know that the bar could be set that high for how funny something could be. And it's probably because I was like 10 and the idea, like the novel idea that this guy would hide in a rhino costume to spy on people and then have to come out of its butt was just like the funniest thing I could ever.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 37.
37. Let's go. Okay.
Young buck.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody who's 37 feels the exact same way. Everyone who's 37 is like, yeah,
coming up on that midlife crisis, baby. Yeah.
No, 30s is a great. I feel like 30s is a great decade.
Close.
Yeah, and he's just about to leave it.
No, but you got 3 years left.
I wish I was starting it. Yeah, it's like it has been a good decade, but I wish I was like 30. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Anyways, well, you guys, thank you for having me.
Yes, and also I didn't even get to say anything about this, but LG and I go way back, and we've done a lot of things together. We really have. Like, we've done a lot of like live streaming events and done a lot of stuff. So yeah, anyways, it was good to finally bring you on the pod. I feel like we've been meaning to bring you on the pod for so long. It's long overdue, but finally here you are. And Michael, do you want to say anything before I close it?
No, it's all good. It was good to meet you, brother. Hopefully our paths cross again soon. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of good laughs. I like these kind of episodes where we can chop it up and joke around and have a good time. So
yes.
What a pleasure.
You guys are the hostesses with the mostesses. So thank you for having me. A pleasure, and good luck on all your future pump and dumps.
Oh my God. All right, well, that's it, folks.
All right, see ya.
We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.